Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas. I had a lovely, peaceful, cozy, quiet Christmas, and I can't believe that Christmas is over already. I had my usual annual morning session, but it's not what we're talking about today. Today we are talking about wish lists. So the title of the video kind of will explain everything, but I kind of throw the word wish list out kind of very casually sometimes. Sometimes I'll just get a plant and be like, oh, this plant was on my wish list, when it was just like at one point I saw that plant and I wanted that plant. But then I also have like a documented wish list. I have a note on my phone, and I also had that video last year where I documented a whole bunch of plants that were on my official wish list. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. All the plants on that list, and I'll tell you whether I got them or not, show them to you as they are today, and then I'll tell you what is on my wish list for 2024. So yep, that's it. I'm gonna be looking at my phone every now and then to remind myself what was on that list from last year. When I was preparing for this video, I went back and watched the video from last year, and it was 25 minutes long. What happened? Honestly, it was really short. So I guess my list also was really short. On my wish list last year, we had Anthurium curandero, which is Javanini cross of some sort of species nova and Papillolamnum Fort Sherman. That I did not obtain, but it's no longer on my wish list. So when I first saw that plant, I was really enamored by this photo. I was like, oh my gosh, it looks like a dark phoenix crossed with maybe like something leathery, like a luxurians, maybe not even luxurians, but something leathery crossed with a dark phoenix. It has like kind of dark phoenix venation, the darkness, and I just thought it was so incredibly beautiful and very like sharp and moody looking. The more photos I saw of this plant, the more I was like a little bit underwhelmed by it. So it is officially off the wish list. I did not obtain it, but I've been seeing it in Facebook groups for like around $150. So it's not that expensive if it's on your wish list, but it is no longer on mine. I think if I got it, I would be probably like, I probably would like it, but I probably wouldn't be obsessed with it like I thought I would be. So that one is done, dunzos. Okay, this one, the red vein dark phoenix. I still don't own this plant. I really want this plant, but it is very popular, very highly coveted. The price tag matches the hype around it. So we're gonna wait a little bit, but I kind of recently found out a little bit more information on this plant, which I feel like might be interesting to some people. So in the past, I was speculating that it must have been like an Indonesian hybrid and not necessarily bred from a dark phoenix, but like looks enough like a dark phoenix that it was being called red vein dark phoenix. And the only places I ever saw it being sold was Indonesia. I just assumed it was an Indonesian hybrid, another like beautiful no ID Indonesian hybrid. But recently, I don't know if it's that recently, but recently I found out that it was actually a Thai hybrid, and a nursery called Siam Flora has kind of claimed ownership over like creating this hybrid. And it's actually, the parents are very interesting. I probably wouldn't have guessed that, but well, maybe not never, but it is a little bit surprising. So the mother plant is a variegated Papillolamnum hybrid. So this kind of looks to me like one of those Indo-Pappy hybrids that was variegated. So they're usually like kind of pappy in shape, but just a little bit rounder. Like I see a lot of these, but this one is variegated, so they obviously were hoping to produce more variegated offspring from that. And the pollen parent is an Anthurium ace of spades. But looking at this photo, this doesn't look to me like a pure ace of spades. I mean, it definitely looks like ace of spades, but to me, it's just at a glance from this one photo, doesn't look like a real ace of spades, but that's what they're calling it. So together they made this beautiful, they call it red dark phoenix, and then Indonesia made it red vein dark phoenix. So we just took that and we as a community started calling it red vein dark phoenix, but the original hybridizer calls it red dark phoenix. But it's so incredibly beautiful. It looks so much like the dark phoenix that we know and love, except that the tone of the leaf, let me look at the photo right now. The tone of the leaf is not, I would say it's like more yellow tone green than the blue tone green of Dark Phoenix. And the veins obviously are red and it's so beautiful. It has those tall bunny lows. It has a really nice quilted texture. The texture is like, yeah, I'm looking at my Dark Phoenix right now. The Dark Phoenix and this, it looks so similar. The venation that comes out in a star shape and then the veins that come down. I'm gonna show you right now some other photos from that seed batch that the Red Dark Phoenix came from. And they're very cool. They look somewhat like each other, but not really. It's hard when they only show emergent leaves because I want to see what it looks like hardened off, but there's obviously other variegated plants that came from this batch. I probably, looking at this, I wouldn't put any of them on my wish list, but I do like this one because it's so narrow and it still has the really tall lobes. I think it would be a really cute plant, but it's not like nearly as covetable as the Red Dark Phoenix. But yeah, Red Dark Phoenix, it's so beautiful. I think you can get like a small butt cut in the States. I don't know about directly from Indonesia or Thailand, but in the States, you're probably looking at like $500 to $800 US for a like tiny butt cut stump. So it is definitely not cheap. I'm seeing people breed with it and those aren't coming cheap. I don't know how much of the redness will pass on because typically to me, redness can be kind of a recessive gene, but the red in the sinus, if it is indeed a real Ace of Spades, does pass on from what I've seen of Ace of Spades hybrids. So you never know. Hopefully the prices come down, but honestly, I don't see it coming down that much because I don't think you can really like replicate this plant really quickly. Certainly if you self this plant, you're not going to get as many like Red Dark Phoenix looking plants as you would if you self a Dark Phoenix, like a regular Dark Phoenix. I'm just kind of blabbing on about it now, but this one is just like such a beautiful, beautiful plant and I really want a Red Dark Phoenix. And I think I've been wanting this plant for like 2 years now, so not holding out too much hope for next year, but maybe one day. Okay, next up is a plant. It is the what was then called Black Velvet Eastern Panama or BVEP, and now it's being called Antilacii, but I still want to say BVEP. So if you've been watching this channel in the last few months, you'll know that I did check this off my wish list. I got 2 actually, and both of them are from my dear sweet friend Amanda, and here they are. I love these plants so much, it's not even funny. I do have a preference for this one over this one, but I do love this one a lot. Don't get me wrong, but this one just kind of steals my heart a little bit more. So this one, I'll just talk about this one first. So this one is from Paul Marcellini or Understory Oasis. Amanda propped her mother plant and she gave me this little prop and she gave me the other one as a backup because this one was looking a little bit sad in her care. And then when she unpotted it, she saw like all these like stubby roots that looked like they'd been cut. So she was like thinking it might have had root rot and she like treated it, put it back in pond. So this like kind of discoloration at the edges were kind of there already when I got this plant, but it's really, really dark, really nice, like star shaped, this kind of, you know, sphincter sinus. And it has just beautiful colors when it's emerging and hardening off. So this is the first leaf that grew in my care. And again, that discoloration is happening. To me, I want to say it's possibly because I have it in no drainage and I've been fertilizing pretty heavily. So I do want to get it out of this pot into drainage like I have been with a lot of my Anthuriums, drainage into a cache pot and see if that still persists. But when I look at the roots, they're not like all over, but they do look quite healthy. But this one I feel like takes the cake a little bit more just because it's darker. This one is seed grown. She got it from Grant. So his handle used to be Ghost Dad and now it's Granthurians. So on my wish list last year was the BVEP, but I specifically highlighted Felix. So this is Felix. Felix is owned by Justin, created in a garden. It's so pillowy and I feel like it has a little bit more of a swell down here. So this one, I don't know which BVEP was crossed with which BVEP, but it was from Grant. But I know that Grant at one point did a collab with Justin. So it was Grant's round as the mother, Justin's Felix as the pollen parent. I don't know that this is it. I never asked. I don't know if I care that much to ask because I know it's a pure BVEP and it's never going to change. So me knowing that it's not really going to change much. What you see with this is really what you get. So this one, I am so grateful that Amanda decided to share this one with me as like a backup to that one, because it does look a little bit more like Felix than this one. This one is a lot more of like a heart shape than this one. This one definitely has like the cute little chipmunk cheeks. They're both pillowy in a way, but this one's definitely more pillowy. But this one doesn't go as dark as this one, at least not in my conditions. They're getting the same feed at the same time. They both have a good amount of stem, so I will be able to chop it for my friends later, or I could, you know, get them to flower and breed with them. Who knows? But yeah, like I can't believe I have this. The price on these have dropped a ton this year. It's actually pretty incredible. And I'm trying to like wrap my brain around like how they dropped so quickly, because BVEP maybe not even 2 years ago was like going for like $1,500 or something for a small plant. Like a seedling, like a pure seedling would be like $1,500, and now you could easily get one for a couple $100. Whereas like other plants like dressleri are still very expensive. For like a sprouted seedling, you're looking at like $500. But dressleri has like arguably been kind of known for longer. So I'm trying to wrap my brain around why BVEP dropped so quickly. I don't really know why. I think maybe because it might be like a more prolific flowerer and people were able to breed them quicker and a lot of seed batches were being created, and conversely maybe dressleri just doesn't flower as much. Who knows? I certainly don't know. I don't have a pure dressleri. The only person that's kind of close to me that I know has a dressleri is Amanda. She has at least one, and I want to say based on like the way she speaks about it, it doesn't flower that much, or like it's a bit of more of a struggle to grow. I mean, certainly these ones have not been difficult. They kind of act like every other Anthurium to me. They react well to tree fern, they root the same way, they enjoy the tent. They haven't really been that difficult. The only thing I can think of for this one is that maybe I burned it a little bit with fertilizer, being in no drainage. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Next up is Monstera burle Marx Flame. I'm pretty sure most of you know I have this plant now. This was imported from Brazil in spring, sometime like late spring, before the summer for sure. She hasn't really changed much since you last saw her, which would have been in the Who Grows It Better video in, what was it, beginning of this month? So the same amount of leaves, same everything. It looks like she's ready to push out another leaf. The petiole is getting quite swollen here. I think it'll be maybe another few weeks before it pops out, but it's been growing so well. I acclimated this in tree fern fiber, just straight tree fern without soil, I mean, but it has like perlite and pon in it. And it rooted out so fast and so just insanely. It was like super root bound in that cup. So I moved it into a massive glass vessel. But before, just ignore this dead plant. There's a story behind it, but it's not worth telling. It went from this cup to this vessel. And that was me kind of giving it a lot of space, and I was upsizing my Anthuriums quite a bit. And I know that Monsteras, I know, I feel like it's hit or miss. Sometimes they like being root bound, sometimes they really want to stretch their legs a little bit more. So I went with the stretching the legs route, and it has rooted out quite a bit in this, which is tree fern mixed with soil. So I just call that tree fern soil. There's been like some confusion when I say tree fern soil, that like, is it tree fern that I've ground up to look like soil? No, it's tree fern mixed with like bagged like potting mix soil and like other amendments and stuff. Loves it. Really loves it. I got it onto a pole, which is a mix of moss, tree fern, some aroid mix, some perlite. There's just like a casserole of stuff, and it has rooted into it, but there's also a lot of algae. There's not a ton of roots. I see a little bit right here. So my Monstera collection is like pretty minuscule, but this one I feel like will always be in my collection because Monstera deliciosa being like my favorite Monstera of all time, but mutated to be so incredibly cool. And I like it in every stage of maturity. So from the very juvenile all the way to the big, like this guy, they're all beautiful. So I'm so happy to have this, and I'm so happy that the prices dropped the way they did. I remember in 2020 when it was like unattainable, like absolutely unattainable, thousands and thousands of dollars, and then the price just kept coming down and down and down, and now we have her. Next up is a Philodendron polypodioides, which I did check off my wish list. I was always very taken by the spindly, just super delicate leaves, and I really love podatum, all podatum hybrids. I really just am so enamored by the shape of them, and it just doesn't look like a leaf should ever like need to do that, and it just feels so wrong but so right, and I love this plant. You guys probably know that I don't have that many philodendrons in my collection as I used to, like compared to when I first started YouTube. I've slowly purged out a lot of them, but this one is a keeper for sure. I got this for my birthday. This was a cutting from Jing's plant, and when I got it, it was pretty small, but it had a couple of like mature leaves. This was the leaf that she gave it to me with, and then it was like a mid cut or a bottom cut, and it started going like right away. She had it rooted in tree fern with like perlite and pond mixed through, and this leaf was just the funniest thing. It just looks so derpy, and I love that. It looks so silly. And it started to mature pretty quickly from there. This one, I believe, was grown in my care. So like it went from, it's really hard to film this plant, but this leaf right here to this leaf, and then it went to this leaf, which was like almost like that polypodioides shape, and it's looking so great. This is exactly what I was looking for. It's growing in room conditions. You guys gave me the courage to grow it outside of a tent because a lot of you said that it was really easy, just grows in your living room, etc. So it just grows on my shelf out here. And I put it onto a moss pole probably about a month ago. I upsized it a lot. But again, it's the same mix. It's like moss with tree fern, soil, like actual aeroid soil, perlite and all that stuff. And it did root into it. I think it started down here and it's rooting upwards. And I got it from, literally, it was a cup this size to this. I just went ham. And I don't see that it has like rooted out. I barely really even see any roots. No, I do see a little bit, just a little bit up top here. But the fact that it's like grown, I think one leaf and a second leaf is emerging here. It's not shedding all the lower leaves. It's fine. It's fine. And I don't have to water it very much. But this plant was also super unattainable a couple of years ago. And now it is so easy to get. You can probably get it in a lot of like online shops now for not very much money. So I do recommend it. If you're like me and you're like kind of frustrated by philodendrons because they vine everywhere and it's like really hard to maintain the growth once it's really big, I think this is a little bit better than like the Floridas, like Florida Ghost, Beauty, Green. They have like much more of a reach than this one. This one is not, I mean, it's not, it's podatum. It's an aberrant form of podatum, which is one of the parent plants of the Floridas. So it doesn't have like the red warty petioles of Florida Green, Florida Beauty, etc., etc. And I feel like the reach might not be as crazy because when I see like much older plants than mine, they don't look like the petiole is 4 feet long. They just look a little bit easier to maintain, a little bit tidier, not as crazy like a helicopter. So I mean, I'll keep you guys posted, but I do have a feeling it's gonna be a lot easier to like maintain the size of it. And it's just such a cool plant. I just think if you like things that are like a little bit more spindly, have more structure to them, like interesting structure. I don't even know how to explain it, but like to me, I think of like Dracaena marginata with the like Dr. Seussy tree trunks and like things like that. You might like this one. I mean, I'm sure I'm not the first person to ever show you this plant, but I do really think it's really good. And that's coming from someone who is annoyed by philodendrons for their growth pattern, I think this one is going to be very much maintainable. Next two I threw in there because I just wanted to throw in some plants that were on my wish list, but it wasn't like I was coveting them, but I was throwing them in to see if maybe someone would be interested in a plant that maybe they'd never seen before. So the first one is Begonia lamriana, or what I think is called lamriana. So this is what it looks like. It's beautiful, but there aren't a lot of photos to go by. So this one looks to me like if a begonia wanted to look like Anthurium luxurians. It's very leathery looking, but also in some photos it looks velvety, but it's really, really texturally nice. Lots of bumps, very dark. And I just thought it's like one of the most beautiful begonias I've ever seen. It's really just right up my alley, but I've never seen this for sale. I've never seen any other photos other than this. So some people have suggested to me other begonias that might look a lot like this, but aren't like this, but are actually in cultivation. But to me, begonias are kind of hard to maintain because they grow so fast. So I'm not in any rush to get this, but if it ever just like popped up or something that looks a lot like that popped up for like a reasonable price, I would probably find it difficult to say no to, but it's not on my wish list anymore. And the last one was another kind of weirdo, and I still would love to own this plant. It's called Epomia belusiana. It's a caudex plant, which personally terrifies me because caudex plants I find really hard to know what they like. I find it really difficult to grow a plant that has a dormant period, like a planned dormant period where they actually need to go dormant in order to survive and thrive. My brain cannot comprehend that, and it stresses me out. So for that reason, I don't really own a lot of caudex plants. Like some plants I would love to own, like a Dioscorea elephantips, Stephania erecta. I think they're so cute, and I really love just the caudex itself. Arguably more than the actual foliage, but the Epomia belusiana is so cute. It looks like rosemary, and rosemary is something that I personally really love the look of, and it's like my favorite scent in the whole world. Like I just really, really have a super strong fondness to rosemary. So this plant looks so much like rosemary that I think I would just adore it, and it would look really good in a nice, really nice ceramic pottery. But I've never seen it for sale, ever. I've never gone out to look for it, like heavily. And I'm also very super aware that these are heavily poached, like just caudex plants in general are really heavily poached, especially when you're getting ones with like a humongous thing that didn't come from a grower that's been growing it for like 20 years. It just like shows up on Etsy one day, like these giant things. I'm super wary of getting a poached plant. So it's not on a wish list of mine that I'm actively looking for it, but if I ever saw it for sale, some friendly neighborhood grower that collects a lot of cool plants, I've been growing it for decades, I would love to own that. I think it's so adorable, but not super on my wish list, if that makes sense. And that's it. That was my wish list video from last year. Not a lot. That was 7 plants. And I checked off 3 out of 7. So not too bad, especially considering like when something goes onto my wish list, to me at the time, I'm like, I'll probably never get it, but it'd be really nice if I did. So let's move on to this year's wish list. And spoiler alert, they are all Anthuriums. Every single one is Anthurium. I feel like you guys get me by now. I just love Anthuriums, and they're the genus that I think I do the best with. So I've given in. I'm just an Anthurium girl. So the first one is one, I really don't think I'll ever own this one. Like legitimately will not own this one. And that is Anthurium basilisk. This is a photo from Cartel Down. I don't think that he created this hybrid. I think he found it and he might have named it. And I've never seen it anywhere else. It just seems like this is one-off from a batch of some sort of complex, maybe crystallinum hybrid. There's mag in everything, and I really honestly think that Magnificum is the most underrated plant parent because so many hybrids that we love and are obsessed with have Magnificum as parents. So I really think that Magnificum deserves a lot more love. Yeah, but this one, I've never seen something quite like it. That sinus and the ruffles and the color, it's so dark when it's fully hardened, and like the emergent colors are so red, but it's got that nice like purpley red. It's so beautiful. And it's very silver too. The Venetian's very, very silver. It's just so striking. And Eric knows I really want it. And I was like, you know, sometimes people would just be like, oh, like, let me know if you're ever gonna sell a cutting. And it never actually happens. Because like a seller with a plant that is really highly coveted will just list it for sale. But I was that annoying person. I was like, I really want this plant, Eric. Like if it's ever for sale, I want to buy it. And hopefully he thinks of me, but I highly doubt it because he was like, this plant's not going to be cut for a really long time. I think he's breeding it for a lot of hybrids. So yeah, this is going to be probably a never owned plant. But I am happy to admire it from afar. It's just so beautiful. So, so beautiful. I don't want a hybrid with this plant. I just want basilisk. I don't want basilisk crossed with whatever. I just want basilisk. Unless the offspring looks just like basilisk with that sinus, that flat V-shaped sinus, the ruffles, the colors. Unless it looks like that, I don't need it. I want basilisk. Next one we already talked about is red vein dark phoenix or red dark phoenix. Yep. Still want this plant. I think this one's probably more attainable than basilisk. I think it's been around for longer. It's been shared more times and propagated more times. So I think more people own this plant. Basilisk, as far as I'm aware, I've only seen Cartel post it. So this next one has been on my wish list for a while, but it wasn't on my video last year. But this one, the first time I saw it was oddly enough on the Tropicals Instagram, and it's Anthurium crystallinum chocolate. Don't know what it is. It might just be a cool mutation of crystallinum, which is why I think more people need to be selfing or breeding crystallinum, like just straight up crystallinum. On the off chance that something like this can happen. Like this Venetian is just incredible. There's not a lot of anthuriums that have veins that look quite like this, and I don't even know how to describe it, so just let the photo speak for itself. It's so beautiful, and it looks like it just grows like crystallinum, like it sizes up really well, just beautiful chocolatey emergent colors. I don't even know where I would begin to find this plant, but also if another Anthurium portrayed veins like this, that would scratch that itch for me. It doesn't need to be like this plant. If it has veins like this, I want it. You just don't see this every day. It's so beautiful. Okay, so this next one, I don't think I've ever talked about on my channel, but I've been wanting it for a while. I don't know why I never mentioned it. I think because not a lot of people talk about it, and when I tried to look for photos of a pure one, couldn't find it. So this one is Anthurium stripey mag or stripey magnificum. So it's really easy to find photos of hybrids using stripey mag, but not a lot of photos of just a straight up stripey mag. But if I can find one, hopefully I can find one, I'll put it right here. I first learned about this like 2 to 3 years ago, and then only by name, because again, there just aren't a lot of photos floating around, and I don't know anything about like the lineage of this plant. I think maybe it's just another mutation where the veins look really stripy and very minimal. Like minimal, but like stripy. Kind of like how Spider Bess is like a spidery looking Bessier Af. I don't know if it's pure magnificum even. I've never seen photos of the petiole. I really, really hope I can find photos of this plant, but I think it's absolutely stunning. But similar to the chocolate crystallinum or crystallinum chocolate, I would accept another magnificum hybrid that has that spidery looking vein, the stripy looking veins. It doesn't need to be that one, because I know Paul has done a hybrid of Bessier Af crossed with stripy mag. I'm not that super into it for some reason. I just really want that clean striping. So if another plant presented like that, I would definitely be interested because it looks so cool. Again, it's like a patterning of Venetian that I don't own and you don't see every day. So I think it's definitely worth being on the wish list, and that's like my official wish list in my notes on my phone. Next one is an Indo special. This is Anthurium X1, which is a papillonaminum hybrid, but it is so cool. Okay, so it has like a very blue toned leaf blade, but the sinus is so electric. It's like orange and yellow and so vibrant. And it always looks a little bit gnarly, like really pebbly, and it just looks bad, and I love it so much. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful plant. So I will also accept other X1 hybrids. For example, Anthurium Pluton, which is from Space Hijau. It's Papillolamnum X1 crossed with what he calls Papillolamnum dark form, whatever that is. I don't think I've seen a photo of it, but this is Pluton. This is Lauren's plant, and Pluton is simply beautiful. And I think Lauren's Pluton really does look like X1 with the colors, the shape, and that sinus color. So I would 100% accept something like this, because X1 is not pure anything. I don't care if it's pure anything, to be honest. I just want plants that express genes in a really beautiful way, or what I find beautiful, and X1, Pluton, perfect, love it, want one. Lauren knows I want it. And then the next one is, it wasn't on my video last year, but it's been on my wish list for a long time, and that's Anthurium dressleri. I don't know if I super care which kind of form of dressleri, but I really, when I think of dressleri and the dressleris that I want, I always think of Windy dressleri, which is named because it was from Windy Aubrey, which is a pretty well-known collector. And I don't know if this is true, so don't quote me on this, but from what I gathered from other people who own Windy dress and what like their growing experience is like, it's not like really, really difficult. But I know it can super vary from like different specimens from a single seed batch. All that to say, I don't super care if it's Windy dress, if it's a Rio Guanche dress, if it's, I don't know, whatever dress. I think it's not ever going to be a super easy plant, but I'm up for the challenge. And I just love those like super dark leaves, but the way that the venation is like very minimal, but it's like so sunken in, and it like creates this shadow. Nothing I own looks like that. And it's just, I think, the most beautiful thing. The petioles are super cool. I think it makes an amazing parent in a hybrid. I own two dressleri hybrids, but not a pure dressleri, obviously. One is the most recent one, which is Fort Sherman Ralph Linum crossed with the dressleri, which as a cross, like me and my friends call it puppy dress, because it's super tangent, but like Dark Phoenix used to be sold as Papillolamnum dressleri in Indonesia. Now nobody really knows what it is. People speculate it's a pure pap. When it was called Papillolamnum dressleri, it was too long of a name, so we just called it Pappy dress, and then it turned into puppy dress because that it's stupid humor that we have. So I have a puppy dress, and then I have the Anthurium Carib Queen, which is dressleri, a Rio Guanche dressleri crossed with a rugulosum, and both of them I love. Well, one of them is like a sprouted seed, but I know I'm gonna love that one. Every Papillolamnum dressleri I've ever seen is just freaking scrumptious looking. So yeah, dressleri will be on my wish list. I think is attainable as a seedling, but not for cheap. But it is definitely there if you're willing to pay the price, versus a lot of other things on this list. It's just like, where do you even find it? It's not even around. Okay, the last one is a mild wish list, but it's definitely a wish list, and that's Anthurium Ace of Purple. This is a Barry Schwartz plant. I mentioned it pretty recently. It's not anything to do with Ace of Spades, I don't think. He just nicknamed it Ace of Purple, and it's so cute. I think I want to just own a berry plant just for fun. But Ace of Purple, if I were to choose any of his plants, I think Ace of Purple will be the one. And it's so beautiful. It's purple. It's purple. It's dark. It's veiny, but the veins are really, really pinstripe thin, and it's really pretty. We do have one in our midst. Anna has one, Anna who works at NST, so it's not like out of my reach. It's not super unattainable, but I think we'll have to wait a while for it and like figure out a good trade or something with Anna one day. But yeah, I think this is a really good one to own. And if you own it, or if you know any other information about like what might be the parents, because I think a lot of people have asked Barry and he's just like, don't know. He just like lets things breed wildly in his garden, which I think is a really cool approach, because he's created some cool plants that way. I don't think everything needs to be like super sterile and planned out. Like I know a lot of growers will do that, and I think that some variety this way with like these people that are just like wildly pollinating things that they don't even know and just purely going by the looks. I can appreciate that kind of approach as well. So yeah, that's my wish list for 2024. Let me know if you think I've like left anything off like that. I know I've left something off, but let me know if there's something I definitely need to keep my eye on. And I feel like anyone who watches this channel a lot will know exactly what my tastes are. But that's the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it's gonna be, yeah, like looking at the timestamp, it's a pretty short one, but it's kind of a busy week for me. I don't know how my schedule filled up so quickly, but I'm kind of like on pause for my work, like my consulting work, because my clients are kind of slowed down for the holidays, but somehow my schedule is freaking packed. So I'm glad to do kind of a short video for you. I hope you're still in holiday mode and just like marinating in your own stench on the couch, eating all your snacks, playing with all your Christmas presents. And I know this week after Christmas is a lot of people's like favorite times because it's just like there's no more like family and friends. You're just like by yourself, but also like just being super lazy, watching movies and stuff. Like personally, I've watched I think like 6 Christmas movies over the span of like 24 hours, and even I was just like, that's too many Christmas movies. And then I just like switched it up to other stuff and watched like 90s like rom-coms. Like I was watching Father of the Bride. So yeah, it's like such a nice time. I can super understand why this week after Christmas is actually some people's like preferred week over the week of Christmas. Anyways, that's the video. Video's over. Love you guys so much, and I'll see you on Sunday. Mwah.